James walked toward the glass doors of the Thompson Trading Company building. The morning sun made the reflective windows shine bright. He checked his watch. 2 o'clock, right on time. His new tie felt tight around his neck. He had bought it yesterday just for this meeting. Inside, the air was cool and smelled like expensive perfume. The lobby had white marble floors that clicked under his shoes. James took a deep breath and walked toward the reception desk. He felt excited, but nervous. This meeting could change everything for his small business. A large man in a security uniform moved to block his path. The guard looked James up and down, his eyes stopping at the folder in his hand. "Delivery entrance is around the back," the guard said. His voice was loud and sharp. James smiled politely. "Good afternoon. I'm here for a meeting with Mr. Thompson." The guard raised an eyebrow. "Mr. Thompson, you sure about that?" "Yes, sir, I have a 2 o'clock appointment." The guard didn't move. "What's the meeting about?" "Business matters. Supply chain logistics." The receptionist turned in her chair. She had blonde hair pulled back in a bun and wore a navy blue suit. Her eyes looked James up and down, just like the guard had done. "Oh, are you the maintenance man?" she asked. "The air conditioning in the East Wing isn't working properly." James's smile felt forced now. "No, ma'am. I'm James Miller. I have an appointment scheduled with Mr. Thompson at 2 o'clock. The receptionist clicked on her keyboard. The sound echoed in the quiet lobby. She frowned and clicked some more. "I don't see any James Miller on today's schedule," she said. "Could you check again, please? I confirmed the appointment yesterday." She sighed and checked one more time. "No. Nothing? Are you absolutely certain you're in the right building? Thompson Trading Company." "Yes, ma'am, I received an email confirmation." The guard crossed his arms. "Maybe you should call your office. Check if they made a mistake." James tried to stay calm. He had dealt with this kind of situation before. People often looked at him and assumed he was a delivery person, a janitor or maintenance staff. He was used to it, but it still stung each time. "I am the business owner," James said clearly. "Could you please call Mr. Thompson's office?" The receptionist picked up the phone. She dialed 4 numbers and waited. James heard a woman's voice answer on the other end. "Hi, Diane. There's a man here saying he has a 2 o'clock with Mr. Thompson, a James Miller." The receptionist paused. "Uh-huh. Okay, I'll let him know." She hung up and looked at James. "They don't have you on the calendar either. Maybe you should reschedule." "I have an email confirmation," James repeated. He opened his folder and pulled out a printed copy of the email. "See, here it is." The guard leaned in to look at the paper. "That's odd," he said. "Could you please try again? Maybe there was a mix-up." The receptionist looked at her computer screen again. People walked past them, men in expensive suits, women in high heels. They all glanced at James standing there in his best clothes, holding his folder. "Have a seat," the receptionist finally said. "I'll try to sort this out." James sat in one of the leather chairs against the wall. He watched the clock on the wall tick past 2:15, then 2:30. Other people came and went. The receptionist made phone calls and typed on her keyboard. She didn't look at James. At 2:45, she called him over. "I spoke with Mr. Thompson's assistant again. He had to leave unexpectedly for an emergency board meeting. When will he be back?" She didn't say. "Would you like to reschedule?" "Of course. When does he have time tomorrow?" The receptionist shook her head. "His calendar is full for the next 2 weeks. I can put you on a waiting list." James felt his shoulders slump. "I see. Thank you." He turned to leave, walking slowly across the marble floor. His footsteps echoed even louder now. The security guard watched him go without saying anything. Outside, the afternoon sun felt too bright. James blinked in the light. He walked to his car in the parking lot, feeling disappointed and frustrated. He had worked so hard to get this meeting. His small supply chain business needed this contract. As he walked past the loading dock, he noticed the delivery trucks coming and going. A blue truck backed up to one of the bays. The driver jumped out and opened the back doors. James recognized him. It was Peter from Riverside Deliveries. They had worked together before. More trucks were parked in a line waiting their turn. James saw logos he knew: Eastside Transport, Metro Logistics, Valley Distribution. All companies that worked for Thompson Trading. He watched them carefully. The drivers looked tired. They checked their watches and frowned. Some trucks had been waiting over an hour. James heard drivers complaining about late payments and rude supervisors. Something clicked in his mind. These drivers, these trucks, these delivery companies, they were all part of Thompson Trading's supply chain. They were the pieces that made the company work, and they weren't happy. James stopped walking to his car. He stood there in the parking lot, watching the trucks and thinking, maybe being turned away wasn't the end. Maybe it was the beginning of something different, something better. James stood in the parking lot of Thompson Trading for a long time that day. He watched the trucks come and go. The next morning, he returned, not to the lobby, but to the loading dock where the trucks waited. Peter, the delivery driver, sat in his cab eating a sandwich. When he saw James, he waved him over. "What brings you back here?" Peter asked. "Just curious about how things work," James said. "Mind if I ask you some questions?" Peter looked around. "Sure, but keep your voice down. The supervisors don't like us talking to outsiders." "How long do you usually wait here?" "Sometimes an hour, sometimes 3, depends on their mood." James frowned. "That's a long time." "You get used to it," Peter shrugged. "At least my truck has air conditioning." Over the next few days, James returned to talk with more drivers. He brought coffee sometimes, sandwiches other times. The drivers began to trust him. "The worst part isn't the waiting," said Mike from Metro Logistics. "It's the way they treat you, like you're invisible." "And the payment," added Susan from Valley Distribution. "Always late. They say 30 days, but it's really 60 sometimes. 90. James listened carefully. He wrote notes in a small notebook. The drivers shared their problems openly now. They talked about late payments, broken promises, and supervisors who yelled at them. At night, James sat at his kitchen table. He studied his notes and made phone calls. His apartment was small with just 2 rooms. He used the kitchen table as his office. Papers covered every surface. "Hello, this is James Miller," he said into the phone. "I'm starting a new supply chain. Company. I heard you work with Thompson Trading." Most suppliers were hesitant at first. They were afraid of losing their biggest client. But James had learned what they really wanted: respect and fair payment. "I can't pay you more than Thompson," James explained to each supplier, "but I can pay you on time, every time, and I'll treat you with respect." His first client was a small packaging company. They had been waiting 3 months for payment from Thompson Trading. "I'll pay you within 2 weeks," James promised. "Nobody pays that fast," the owner said. "I will," James replied. The owner took a chance. James paid in 10 days. Word spread quickly. By the end of the first month, James had signed his first delivery contract. Peter from Riverside Deliveries agreed to work with him part-time. "I can't leave Thompson completely," Peter explained, "but I'll take some of your smaller jobs." "That's fine," James said. "When you're ready for more, let me know." James remembered everyone's name. He knew Peter had 2 children. Mike was saving for his daughter's wedding, and Susan was studying to become a nurse. When their birthdays came, he sent cards. He kept his promises. If he said a payment would arrive Tuesday, it arrived Tuesday. If he promised to call back in an hour, he called back in 59 minutes. On tough days, when his phone didn't ring and no new contracts came in, James remembered that day in Thompson Trading's lobby. The security guard blocking his path, the receptionist dismissing him. He used that feeling to fuel his work. After 3 months, James expanded to a small warehouse. It was old and needed repairs, but it had good loading docks and space for an office. He hired 2 part-time employees, Maria, a bookkeeper, and Tom, a warehouse assistant. "We start by being better than Thompson, not bigger," James told them on their first day. The warehouse grew busy. More trucks arrived with deliveries. More suppliers called with offers. James still answered every phone call himself. "Miller Supply Solutions, this is James speaking. How can I help you?" He worked long hours, often until midnight, checking schedules and making sure everything was perfect for the next day. He bought a coffee maker for the drivers. He installed comfortable chairs in the waiting area. "You don't have to do this," Peter told him one day. "We're just drivers." "You're the heart of the business," James replied. "Without you, there's no business." By the 6th month, James had signed contracts with 12 key suppliers that used to work only with Thompson Trading. His warehouse hummed with activity. Trucks. came and went smoothly. Payments were always on time, but James never acted proud or important. He still remembered names, asked about families, and treated everyone with respect. When a driver made a mistake, he didn't yell. He helped find solutions. "This is different," suppliers whispered to each other. "This is better." Thompson Trading began to notice. Their trucks waited longer in empty loading bays. Some of their best drivers were suddenly unavailable. Their suppliers answered calls from Thompson more slowly than before. Something was changing in the city's supply chain network. Something quiet but powerful. And it all started with a man who remembered what it felt like to be invisible. The leaves turned orange and yellow outside Thompson Trading Company. Inside, Mr. Thompson's office felt colder than usual. He sat behind his large desk, looking at reports that didn't make sense. "These numbers are wrong," he muttered. His secretary, Emily, knocked and entered. She held a stack of papers in her shaking hands. "Sir, we have another problem." "What now?" Mr. Thompson didn't look up from his computer. The warehouse supervisor called. "The usual delivery from Springfield Packaging didn't arrive this morning." "Call them," he said sharply. "I did, sir. They said they're working exclusively with a new company now." Mr. Thompson finally looked at her. His face turned red. "What new company?" "Miller Supply Solutions. I've never heard of them." He grabbed the phone and dialed Springfield Packaging himself. The line rang 4 times before someone answered. "Springfield Packaging, this is Robert." "This is William Thompson. Where's my delivery?" There was a pause. "Mr. Thompson, we're not working together anymore. We signed a contract with Miller Supply Solutions last month. You can't just leave us. We've been doing business for 5 years. "Yes, sir. 5 years of late payments. Miller pays on time, every time." The line went dead. Mr. Thompson slammed the phone down. His coffee mug rattled on the desk. "Get me a list of all our suppliers," he commanded. Emily hurried out and returned with the list. Mr. Thompson started calling. The first 3 suppliers he reached gave him similar answers. "We're with Miller now. Their payment system is better. They treat us with respect." By lunchtime, Mr. Thompson was sweating. His expensive suit felt too tight. He called 6 more suppliers before one finally answered honestly. "To be truthful, Mr. Thompson, they just treat us better. They remember our names, they pay when they say they will, and they don't yell at our drivers." "I've been in business longer than them," Mr. Thompson argued. "Yes, sir. But being in business longer doesn't mean much if you don't respect your partners." The supplier hung up. Mr. Thompson's hands trembled. He buzzed Emily. "Find out everything about this Miller Supply Solutions." 2 days later, Emily placed a thin folder on his desk. Inside were articles from the local business paper and a website printout. James Miller, 35 years old. Started his company 6 months ago. He specializes in supply chain solutions. 6 months? Mr. Thompson laughed. "How can he compete with us?" Emily shifted her weight. "Sir, I should mention something. James Miller was here 6 months ago. For a meeting." Mr. Thompson looked confused. "Who?" "The man in the lobby. The one who waited for 2 hours. The one you couldn't meet because of the emergency board meeting." The memory clicked. A tall black man in a nice suit. The security guard had stopped him. The receptionist had assumed he was maintenance. Mr. Thompson had completely forgotten about him. "That was him?" "Yes, sir." The next morning, the problems got worse. Eastern Transport, Thompson's main delivery company, called to reduce their contract by 50%. "We're splitting our business," the owner explained. "Half goes to Miller now." "Why?" Mr. Thompson demanded. "Your drivers are tired of being treated badly. Some of them are leaving us to work directly for Miller. He offers better pay and better treatment." In the afternoon, Valley Distribution withdrew completely. They left politely but firmly. "We've signed an exclusive deal with Miller Supply Solutions." Mr. Thompson paced his office. He looked out the window at the city below. Cars moved along, the streets like tiny ants. Everything looked normal from up here, but his world was falling apart. His phone rang. It was the head of operations. "Sir, the warehouse is half empty. Only 3 trucks came in today. Usually we have 15 by noon. Keep calling our suppliers, offer them more money." "We tried. Miller isn't paying them more. He's just paying them on time and treating them with respect." Mr. Thompson punched the wall. His hand hurt, but not as much as his pride. That evening, he sat alone in his office. The building was quiet. Most employees had gone home. He opened his laptop and searched for Miller Supply Solutions. The website was simple. It showed smiling drivers and warehouse workers. The motto read, "Building relationships through respect and reliability." Comments from clients filled the testimonials page. Finally, a company that values its partners. James Miller treats us like family. No more late payments, no more stress. Mr. Thompson's chest felt tight. For 20 years, he had built Thompson Trading. He had focused on growth and profits. He never thought about the people who made it possible. Now those same people were leaving. One by one, they were choosing a newcomer who valued them. The tables had turned completely. Outside, the first snow of winter began to fall. Cars moved slower in the streets below. White flakes covered the city. Mr. Thompson watched the snow and realized something important had changed. His empire was melting away while somewhere across town, a new company was growing stronger. The winter sun was low in the sky when James's phone rang. He was in his warehouse checking inventory with Tom, his assistant. The name Thompson Trading Company appeared on the screen. James let it ring 4 times before answering. Miller Supply Solutions. James speaking. Mr. Miller? This is Emily. Davis, Mr. Thompson's assistant. Mr. Thompson would like to meet with you. I see. He has time tomorrow at 10 o'clock. Can you come to our office? James paused. He looked around his busy warehouse. Trucks were being loaded. Workers were laughing and helping each other. Everything ran smoothly now. I'll be there, he said. The next morning, James put on the same tie he had worn 6 months ago. He drove to the glass building with its marble lobby. As he pushed through the revolving door, he saw the same security guard. The guard's eyes grew wide. He straightened up quickly. Mr. Miller, welcome back, sir. The guard's voice was loud and respectful. Mr. Thompson is expecting you. Let me show you to the elevator. The guard walked ahead, leading James past the reception desk. The same blonde receptionist looked up. Her face turned pale when she recognized James. Mr. Miller, she stammered. I'm so sorry about... It's fine, James said politely. No hard feelings. The guard pressed the elevator button. Top floor, sir. The executive boardroom. In the elevator, James straightened his shoulders. The doors opened to reveal a long hallway with thick carpet. Windows showed the city spread out below. Emily met him at the elevator. Thank you for coming, Mr. Miller. Right this way. She led him to large double doors. Beyond them was a massive conference room. A long table stretched down the center. Windows covered one wall from floor to ceiling. William Thompson stood at the far end of the room. Mr. Miller, Thompson said. He walked forward with his hand extended. Thank you for coming. James shook his hand. Thompson's grip was firm, but his palm felt sweaty. Please have a seat. Thompson gestured to the chair at his right hand. This was usually reserved for important visitors. James sat down. He placed his hands calmly on the table. Thompson sat too, shifting in his chair. He loosened his tie slightly. Mr. Miller, Thompson began. I believe we got off on the wrong foot 6 months ago. It happens, James replied simply. Yes, well, Thompson cleared his throat. I'm sure you've noticed that many of our suppliers have started working with you. I have. We need them back. The words came out quickly, almost desperately. James looked at Thompson without speaking. The silence stretched between them. Through the windows, he could see small airplanes leaving trails in the sky. They chose to work with someone who respects them, James said finally. Thompson's face reddened. We can offer better terms, more money, bigger contracts. It's not just about money. Then what? Thompson's voice rose slightly. What do you... So have that we don't. Time, James said. Respect. Dignity. Thompson frowned. I don't understand. I pay them on schedule. I remember their names. I ask about their families. I don't make them wait for hours. I don't yell at their drivers. Thompson opened his mouth, then closed it. His hands gripped the edge of the table. Those suppliers built your business, James continued. They worked hard for you. But you treated them like numbers on a spreadsheet. We were efficient, Thompson tried to defend himself. Efficiency without humanity isn't efficiency. It's just coldness. The room fell completely silent. Somewhere in the building, phones rang distantly. Thompson looked down at the polished table. His reflection stared back at him. "What do you want?" Thompson asked quietly. "I want nothing from you," James said. "The suppliers chose to leave. They're free to go back if they want to. But they won't. Not unless things change." Thompson nodded slowly. "And if I did change things?" "Change isn't just words, Mr. Thompson. It's actions, every day, every interaction." Thompson stood up and walked to the window. He looked down at the city below. Cars moved like tiny dots on the streets. People hurried along sidewalks. "I built this company from nothing," he said without turning around. "I worked 18-hour days. I never took vacations. I thought that's what it took to succeed." "Success without respect for others is empty," James said. Thompson turned back. His face looked older than before. "You're right," James stood up. "I should go. My drivers are expecting me." "Wait." Thompson held up his hand. "Is there any way we could work together? Maybe my company could use your services?" James thought for a moment. "Perhaps, but not now. First, you need to learn to treat people better. Then maybe we can talk about business." He walked to the door. As he opened it, Thompson called out, "Mr. Miller," James turned. "I'm sorry for how we treated you that day." James nodded once. "We all make mistakes. What matters is what we do next." 2 weeks after the meeting, James's phone rang again. Mr. Thompson himself was calling this time. "Mr. Miller, I've been thinking about our conversation," Thompson said. "Could we talk again?" "Of course. Would you come to dinner, to the Oak Inn at 8 tonight?" The Oak Inn was the city's finest restaurant. James arrived wearing his best suit. Thompson was already there, sitting at a corner table. He stood as James approached. "Thank you for coming." They ordered food and talked slowly. Thompson listened carefully as James explained how he treated workers and suppliers. He took notes on a small pad of paper. "I want to change how trading works," Thompson said, "but I'm not sure how." "Start with the people," James suggested. "Pay them on time, listen to their concerns, show them respect." "Or what if we work together?" Thompson asked. "You could help us improve." James took a sip of water. He thought carefully. "I would consider a partnership, but under certain conditions." "Name them." "First, all workers must be treated fairly. No more yelling at drivers. No more making suppliers wait for hours." Thompson nodded. "Agreed." "Second, payments must be made on time. If you promise 30 days, it means 30 days, not 60 or 90. Yes. Third, every person who enters your building deserves respect. From the delivery person to the CEO, Thompson wrote everything down. Those all seem fair. "And one more thing," James added. "I want to meet with your staff, all of them, to explain these changes personally." 2 months later, James stood in Thompson Trading's main conference room. Every employee had gathered, from the security guards to the executives. The room was packed. People whispered and wondered why they were there. Thompson introduced James. "This is Mr. James Miller. We've formed a partnership. He's going to explain some changes we're making." James spoke clearly and simply. "Starting today, things will be different. We will pay all our suppliers on time. We will treat every worker with respect. Whether you're delivering packages or running a department, your work matters." The security guard from the front desk raised his hand. "How do we know this is real?" "Because you'll see it happen," James replied, "every day, in small ways and big ways." The first changes appeared immediately. The receptionist began greeting every visitor with a smile. The security guard learned everyone's name. Drivers were offered coffee while they waited. Payments went out exactly on schedule. When suppliers called, they were treated with kindness. The warehouse installed a comfortable waiting area with magazines and free drinks. Mr. Thompson worked alongside James. He learned to walk through the warehouse and talk to workers. He thanked drivers for their service. He asked about their families and remembered their children's names. 6 months after that first dinner, James sat in the Thompson Trading boardroom again. This time, he had a desk there. He was now a partner in the company. Maps of supply routes covered the walls. The room felt warmer and more welcoming. "The Springfield contract is renewed," Emily reported. "They say our payments are now the best in the industry." "Excellent," James smiled. "What about Eastern Transport?" They're back to full capacity with us. The drivers are happier now. Thompson walked in. He no longer looked stressed. James, good news. Valley Distribution wants to increase their contract by 20%. Why? James asked, though he knew the answer. They say we're the easiest company to work with now. The partnership succeeded. Thompson Trading grew stronger, but more importantly, it became a better company. People smiled more. The atmosphere was friendlier. Success came from respect, not fear. Years passed. James was invited to speak at the local business school. Young students in neat clothes sat in rows taking notes. "What's your advice for success?" a student asked. James thought of that day in the marble lobby. He remembered feeling invisible, dismissed, forgotten. "Never let anyone make you feel invisible," he said. "When they dismiss you, use it as fuel. But don't build something just for revenge. Build it to show how things should be done better." "What if we fail?" another student asked. "You might. But failure isn't the end. It's often the beginning of something better. When one door closes, another opens. Sometimes you have to build that door yourself." The students nodded thoughtfully. One raised her hand. "What matters most in business?" "People," James said simply. "Treat people with dignity. Pay them fairly, show them respect. The rest will follow." After the talk, a young man approached James. "My uncle works as a truck driver. He talks about you all the time, says you changed everything." James smiled. "People change everything. We just create the right conditions." As he left the school, James drove past the Thompson Trading Building. The glass still gleamed in the sunlight. But now, through those windows, he could see people working happily together. In small warehouses and delivery businesses across the city, drivers and suppliers continued their work. When they passed the Thompson Trading Building, they smiled and remembered. They remembered the man who had seen them when others hadn't. In every corner of the business world, hope exists. Respect creates opportunity. Dignity builds empires. And when someone refuses to make you invisible, they might just change your whole industry.